Got to talk about one of the newest Lakers, Russell Westbrook.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you got LeBron on the roster, you got Rondo on the roster, you got Russell Westbrook too. How's it going to shake down for Russ as far as the ball handling duties with two other pretty good vets who can do it on their own on the roster?
Yeah, Russell Westbrook is a huge welcome to the Los Angeles Lakers. We lost a Schroeder last year, who was a decent point guard for us, but what we're going to get with Russell is what LeBron's been needing for some time. LeBron has always had to carry the load. He's always had to be the guy with the ball in his hand. He's been the most consistent, the one he only trusts, especially and down the stretch. But when Russell comes in, that's going to help LeBron tremendously. A veteran player that's been in the league long enough to know exactly where he is and what he needs to do to win a championship and to continue his success. Just breaking Oscar Robertson's triple-double record. And a pretty savvy player. I was over-elated when I thought we had a chance at getting him because he's the perfect match for this team right now. A guy who can put pressure on you. His mentality is contagious, the way he plays every night. He doesn't take a minute off. And LeBron is going to love that. AD is going to learn from that. Rondo is going to love that type of efficiency and mentality. And he's just going to bring, so much to the table. He's probably one of the most respected players for what he does every night in the league. A little erratic from time to time, but what player is not? So I think he's a welcome coming back home to Los Angeles, where people have known him since his high school days out here in Lawndale, and then I think his 1 year at UCLA. It's a huge welcome.
Yeah, you mentioned the big personalities, and you got to look at a guy like Russ, and there's plenty of other big ones on this team. How's the chemistry going to shake out with all these guys? A lot of vets, too.
I think they know how to do it. I think most veterans who've been in the league 6 or 7 years or more, they've already been through some locker room stuff in their younger years. They've seen how teams come out of problems with solutions. So you welcome that. Veteran players aren't going to be trivial. They're not going to be, they're going to be blunt with their conversation, like a Jared Dudley, like a Rondo. So that's going to be good for the locker room. It's going to be less, challenges as far as getting the truth out there and knowing what the team needs to do. And also, I think veterans, they're able to take criticism as long as it's constructive. I think, veterans, they want that kind of feedback. So I think that's going to be a big plus for this team.
A guy like Russ, he can contribute so many different ways. He can push the pace. He can create his own shot, obviously. He rebounds. He was 6th in the entire NBA in rebounding. Feisty, in-your-face defender as well. What do you think will be the biggest thing he can bring to this team?
Well, I think the feisty defense in your face is the thing that Vogel's going to be preaching first. But guards don't box out because guards aren't really your primary rebounders. But when you have a guard, like Magic Johnson was a great rebounder, and so when you have a guard that doesn't have to look for an outlet pass, a guard that can grab the rebound and push it himself, and the Lakers want to run, that's going to be a huge problem for opponents getting out before the defense can get set up. And then when you get into the half-court set, his ability to back the defense up and put pressure on you, collapse the defense, he's a willing passer. We know that. And then the third thing is, let's say LeBron or AD, especially LeBron, has to miss a game. You're not going to skip a beat with Russell Westbrook because of the way he plays and the mentality that he brings every night. That's going to be a lot of strength coming with his play.
James, he brings so much to the table. He's got the MVP season. He's got all the triple-doubles. Huge playmaker, one of the best point guards of all time. Mm-hmm. Where does he rank among the ones you've played with or against or just seen over the years?
He's got to be top 5 point guard just for breaking Oscar's record. Obviously, he hadn't won, but what he brings to the table every night, triple-doubles. You need rebounds, you need points, you need assists. He's going to give it to you. but the most important thing is his effort and his mentality. You'd rather guard a guy who could just shoot a lot, and because he doesn't take plays off, and he's physical. I mean, Russell Westbrook could go play for the, who's your favorite football team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
He could go play for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. That's just the kind of player he is. So I think, we talk about big threes, the Brooklyn, big three. There's some pretty good scorers on that team. Their defense is still yet to be seen. We know Durant's pretty good on the ball, but when you bring in a Russell Westbrook, a Rondo, LeBron, who was challenging on the defensive end, AD, who's blocking shots, guys like Bazemore, who's defensive oriented, Dwight Howard, the shot blocker. When you bring that type of defensive, mentality, man, it could be, really tough for the opponents. You know what they can do offensively. So let's go.
My number one guy to ever work with, he's sitting right here. Just don't tell Robert Horry. I want to hear about your thoughts on Frank Vogel. Obviously, some big moments for him in his short tenure with the Lakers. But now he's got some problems, maybe some good problems, because he's got some really good veteran players and a few young, potentially good under 30 guys. What's he going to do as far as balancing these guys in the rotation?
Well, the one thing about Coach Vogel, one of his major assets is his ability to communicate with his players. Historically, I've always heard that, he's a man of his word. He comes to you right away. You hear it from him first. I think we experienced that a little bit this past season when he had to make some decisions about how he was going to play, like Marc Gasol after Drummond came in, and also with veteran players like Morris, deciding when their minutes were better for the team and when they were not. So I think he'll continue that. He seems to have had that over his career. I think it's the nuclear of players, LeBron, AD, and we got Rondo coming back, and I think they all seem to agree and adhere to his philosophy. Defense first, and then everything seems to trickle down. So I don't foresee it as a problem. And I think for most of the veteran players who are coming here, Carmelo and Wayne Ellington and guys like that, Nunn coming in from Miami, I think they have a pretty good idea of what they're going to get. Bazemore made a comment about, with Vogel, he lays it out there. You have to earn it. And I think that's what most players like to hear.
You hit on a lot of those veteran guys, and there are plenty of them on the Lakers, almost 3/4 of the roster right now. Having so many vets is a good thing, but can that also be a lot of voices in that huddle too?
It can be,
yeah.
Because all these veterans bring a ton of experience. Last year we were fortunate enough to have Jared Dudley be one of those guys. The year before that, it was Rondo. But when you get a collective effort, I think you have to choose the ones who are vocal. And I think veteran players have a tendency to do that. Wayne Ellington is not a guy that's a big, talker, not a big vocal guy. I think in practice you get that type of encouragement. Bazemore is kind of a, I'll show you what I can do. So I think there's certain guys like Rondo who has an amount of value when he speaks. Carmelo's been around for a while. He'll probably add some value as well. So I think veteran players know who has the voice, and they kind of allow that to play out.
The Lakers lost some pretty good defenders during the offseason. Obviously KCP, Caruso, Schroeder, a feisty point guard defensively, Kyle Kuzma. So he had some pretty good moments on D as well. Frank Vogel, obviously a very defensive-minded coach. The Lakers had the top-rated defense in the league last year. How does he kind of keep that going, that mindset, with some really new personnel here?
Yeah, it seems to always be a challenge. I remember we let Dwight Howard go and McGee, and we didn't have any shot blocking.
Yeah.
And he still was able to maintain until the injuries. We still had AD. He still was able to maintain a pretty good defensive team. And I think he'll be able to do that again this year. Bringing back shot blockers, that's going to help. Anytime you have shot blockers, it allows the perimeter players to be better defensive players than they really are, because they can pressure a little bit more, deny a little bit more, because they know they have rim protection. So I expect that to be the same.
We've talked a lot about the new faces for the players, some new faces for the coaching staff, too. There's been some turnover there. Jason Kidd gone. Lionel Hollins no longer here. David Fizdale brought in to help as an assistant coach. Mike Penberthy now on the front of the bench. What does Frank have to do to kind of make sure the coaching chemistry is good as well?
Yeah, I think that'd be the easiest thing to deal with. Assistant coaches are pretty good at adjusting to what the coach wants and what he needs. And so I think the two names as you mentioned are guys that, he knows very well and they know his philosophy. And so they'll handle certain things in practice and they'll be able to add, a little adjustments here and there. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's because it's always the head coach is the guy that's the last voice you're going to hear out of a huddle. So I think the two that you named are ready. They've proven themselves already. I think they'll pick up where the other two left off.